say, Jono?
Lekker.
End of another rugby championship that could have been.
Yeah, it was a close one in the end at least. It came down to the last two games, which is nice. It wasn't a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, at one stage,
like it usually is.
Yeah, at one stage it almost seemed like it was going to be a foregone conclusion when we lost to the All Blacks.
Yeah.
At Ellis Park, and then we lost to the Aussies quite badly.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, it's been the most even rugby championship ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Argentina could have still won it up until last weekend.
That was to me one of the nice parts of the rugby championship was how competitive Argentina were. Like, I know the scores in the last few games were quite big in the end, but they beat the All Blacks in New Zealand.
And they beat the Aussies quite convincingly.
Yeah, they absolutely whipped the Aussies.
Something.
So I like that. I like that the Argentinians, I think they've got a pretty good team.
Yeah.
To be honest, they've got a very good kicker.
Perhaps just to talk about yesterday, they were never just going to give it to us.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to take your hat off to them. Actually, they came there to win.
Yeah.
Like, we obviously dominated the first exchanges up until like 30 minutes, and then Argentinians came back.
Yeah.
Like you said, Boffelli.
Yeah, he kicked really well. It's lekker to know that you got a guy who could kick like almost everything over.
Yeah.
And who can kick from distance. I actually thought, just talking about some of the good stuff, Argentina, I think their last try they scored against us was brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that there's their strategy or their tactics to speed the game up, and they played with a lot of skill and with a lot of pace. And I just felt like that really was outstanding from their point of view, and we didn't really have an answer, particularly with a man or two down.
Especially how they didn't just die. Like, we had them under so much pressure, but then when they had their chance, they took it.
No, absolutely. So they're a force to be reckoned with, I think. And I think, guys like the likes of Scotland and Wales and that, they've got to be scared, eh?
Yeah.
And I think they're going to do really well. So I like their captain as well. I think he's a cool, level-headed guy with a lot of skill.
And how's that flank? He scored a try against the All Blacks in New Zealand as well. It was a very similar situation where he just randomly got the ball, and then he just suddenly cracked on the pace, and then he scored a try.
Nice little sidestep.
Yeah.
But he's definitely got pace, and he was hanging out on the wing, and I think that's deliberate.
Yeah.
He's either going to run over you or around you, which I think is massive for any team.
And he's tall and big.
Yeah. No, very impressive player.
So.
But yeah, it was as much as it was lekker to win, it was a really disappointing game in general for me. But I thought a couple of guys put their hands up really nicely again. Yeah. Like Jasper Wiese was amazing.
Jasper Wiese, for me, Jasper Wiese is like the most improved player for the Springboks over this season so far.
Yeah.
I mean, last year he came in, obviously big shoes to fill for Dwayne.
Yeah.
And then this year, actually, when after the All Blacks Ellis Park game, everyone was like, "Why are we bringing on Dwayne when we've got Jasper?"
Yeah. No, Jasper's now the man. That's it.
And that's great. That's good for next year, because I think maybe next year is maybe a bridge too far for Dwayne.
I still see people crying on social media for Evan Roos, and I'm like,
no. But he scored a good try against Connacht.
Dude, I'm sorry. Like, there's now a long list of guys in front of you. Not really long, maybe 2 guys or 3 guys. And when Wiese's playing like that, you can't, like, a lot of guys were blaming the loss on selection, and one of their points were, not the loss, the poor performance on selection. And one of the strong points coming through from that fan base was if Russ was there. And I'm like, the man of the match was the 8th man.
Yeah, no.
So I don't understand your point. Yeah. But he was good. I thought our lineouts were a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't think we lost a lineout. We might have lost maybe one. I don't think we lost a lineout.
Yeah, and it was very varied.
Oh, we did. We had one over the top that we didn't catch.
Yeah.
And then we had a skew one.
But it was varied. It was like, it was never the same. It was hard to read, I think.
Pinpoint accuracy, and don't underestimate how the Argentinians defend a lineout. They're very good in the air stealing the ball. So
good forwards.
I thought that our lineout was much improved. I thought our scrum was unbelievable again. Our mauling was outstanding. But yeah, we did look a little bit hopeless at times with the handling.
Yeah, should we talk about fly off Frans Steyn? Poor guy.
Sure, Frans Steyn had a bit of a nightmare.
A bit of a howler, yeah.
And we were all backing him. We thought that was the right selection.
It's not that he's a bad player or anything. It's just, I think it's like he hasn't started a game in like a decade, and then it's like, okay, well, now you must play fly-off for the Springboks in a game where we have to win by 40 points. There, just go play. It's a bit unfair, actually.
If he wasn't trying to be too cute with these massive punts, the complexion of his performance would have changed. So, for example, if he had just kicked these penalties out, I think the rest of the stuff would have been easily forgivable, you know.
Yeah.
So it was the right call. I mean, what else were the selectors going to do? Who else
they would have to bring in someone new, but obviously we don't want to be in that situation too soon again, where, you know, at a World Cup or whatever, where we've lost like our front ranking fly-offs.
Yeah, the fly-off thing is a problem.
You don't want to play with Frans Steyn in the final, starting at fly-off.
Yeah.
Like, he's a legend, so he's never going to let you down in terms of like bringing him on where you have a gap, but let's avoid starting.
Yeah, that's a huge problem for us, and I feel very good when Arendse comes on the field.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the guy who's going to make things happen.
That's another guy that's from this rugby championship who's stood up well. Also prior against Wales, we saw he was pretty good.
Yeah, no, he has to be in the fold, definitely. The one of the players that I felt that was disappointing at the same time, it was like disappointing but also really good, was Damien Delenda. What I'm finding with Delenda at the moment, he's such a powerful force in the midfield. I mean, he gets over the gain line by far all the time.
Yeah.
He's good at getting into space as well, but after that, it seems to be a problem, because any little he doesn't look for the opportunity to offload. It was at least one good opportunity, and at times he was passing behind guys' backs, passing too high.
He's not that skillful.
Yeah, he's skilled. I think he has always been, but at the moment it just feels like, because he's been played like that so much, that's kind of like how he's trained.
I think he's an athlete. He's not like Jean de Villiers was more skillful than him.
Way more.
You know,
definitely.
Okay, I don't want to compare people. It's just, if he could just up that skill, if he could just really work on, like you're saying, passing and like not behind the player.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we have seen in the past where there's like a break, and then he decides to put it on the kick a grubber.
Yeah, that's not good.
So he doesn't quite have that skill.
Because I reckon if we could close that gap, like whenever he gets over the gain line properly, and we could leverage that advantage, I think we'll score so many more tries.
Yeah.
Because it's just a 1-2 pass, or it's getting over the ruck quickly and getting it out. I think that we create a massive advantage for ourselves with him in the midfield, and there's just no link. Maybe that's because isn't there. I don't know, because Jesse to me has looked solid. He hasn't been like all over the place, but he's coming back into the fold, and his defense has been outstanding. At
least we
13.
know what we have in him. He's not going to let us down, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going to. Who else you would put at 13 at the moment with
Cornel Hendricks.
Yeah, I'm a huge Cornel Hendricks fan. I think he should have been in the Springbok squad to begin with, but anyway.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of positives, but yes, our discipline is bad.
Yeah, perhaps we should talk about like how we were trying to chase this 40-point lead and bonus point victory thing. I felt like, for instance, if we look at how we played last week in the first half against Argentina, that was like super clinical, and we went up. What was it, 22 points?
Yeah.
In the first half, and that wasn't by just going for every single try. And I think that's where Australia also went wrong yesterday.
Yeah.
Is instead of just going like playing percentages a little bit, they're always going for the maximum.
You've got to like, the Springboks aren't the All Blacks, and we've got to keep to our traditional strengths, put pressure on those other teams, scoreboard pressure, physical pressure, etc., and eventually you will create the crack. I promise you, if you like 10, 15 points up at half time, or 20 points up at half time, just playing that kind of rugby, you're kicking your points, you're making the most of your opportunities, eventually they're going to be chasing the game a bit too much for you.
Sufficient yellow cards,
big time.
Pressure is too high on them, exactly, and then you start breaking away.
Absolutely, and
we just didn't play that percentage game.
I just think about the Bulls between 2007 and 2010, and that's how they used to demolish teams, and very clinically. It was just like too much to handle for the first 20, 30 minutes, and then after that it was just boom. And this running around and trying to sidestep and dance around and crack space.
I don't even think we were trying to do that.
What I mean is that there's a that's in the same ballpark of strategy. It's to try and use individual skills to score lots of tries, and that's, to me, that's not going to work.
I feel like our issue was we were just, instead of taking the points, we would just go for the sideline to set up the maul, or take a scrum instead of taking the points. And maybe, I mean, who knows what could have been, but it was an ugly win. Actually,
it
was two similar games in terms of, obviously Australia got smashed, but what I mean is they just weren't playing any percentage, and they were just trying to go for the maximum, and that's why they ended up getting smashed. And we could possibly even have lost yesterday because of that tactic.
I thought the game was at risk for a moment, but I do think that kind of style of play and that mentality or that strategy going to Europe is going to kill us.
It's going to kill us. Okay, so we had to move because my iPhone shut down. Because it was like 30 something degrees sitting over there.
Our strategy going into the game of video was a bit inappropriate there. Sitting in front of the hot fire, 35 degrees, no hat, hot cup of coffee. It was working against me there for a second. Kind of like the Springboks.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Like, what we were saying there is how if we play like that and with those kind of tactics, how are we gonna be
suffer against Ireland and France?
Yeah, big time. So I think I think they know that. Hopefully they know that. At least like the physical part of our game is still working well. On the breakdown at the rucks, we're very potent. I mean, we were stealing balls on the ground. Quagga,
protecting the ball quite well as well.
Correct. Scrumming, mauling, lineouts, great. Where I'm worried is we haven't used our penalty kicking at all to our advantage.
We don't have a place kicker.
We couldn't in the games before because Willemse was playing 10. Yesterday we obviously just we thought we were going to bully them into submission. But not a great good win in the end, but not a great.
Yeah, it's a bit sad.
Frustrating game.
Well
to
done
watch.
to New Zealand. They've taken it again.
You can never underestimate New Zealand.
It's another championship of what ifs. What if we had gotten a bonus point at Ellis Park and in Australia, that first game, I can't remember where we played. We played on a cricket field.
You can't, what I'm reading is, which I agree with, you can't blame the loss of the championship on yesterday's game.
No.
Everyone puts it down to that game at Ellis Park.
Yeah.
That was
a
game that we should have won.
Unforgivable. But it was also a game where our 6-2 split was shown up. I mean, again, we had who was it? Jesse Creel, who was playing wing, who got injured in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we had to shift the entire back line. So maybe it's lessons learned, Let's look at it like John Kerwin would and be like, I'm just really glad we lost.
We needed the loss.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think something needs to be, we need to just maybe comment on players a little bit. So what are those guys we feel that maybe we need to look at making a change? My personal opinion is Fafa's had his day.
Fafa's either off form or he's done.
Yeah, I think Fafa's, yesterday, as he comes on the field, he gives away a yellow card. I mean, he's lost his composure completely, and I think we got a lot of scrum offs that are good.
It's almost like he's too frantic. I don't know.
Well, I think he's just trying to prove himself to get back into the starting lineup, and that's not the way to do it. So Faf, to me, I think I've never jumped on the bandwagon 100%, but I do think it's time to start looking to phase Willie out. I think Willie's a great player to have in your squad and maybe on your bench, but I think we've got to look at an alternative.
Yesterday. That was weird. That was weird for everyone.
Yeah, and he lost the ball in contact, and he really, when there's a high ball on him and he's under pressure, he always makes it look terrible. He took one great up and under yesterday, but there wasn't that much pressure on him in that situation, I felt. So I think we need to look at that.
But for me, it's not a case of discarding these players because they're going to be invaluable to. Is invaluable the word? I think.
Yes.
For next year, for the World Cup, like Franz Steyn, he didn't have a great game. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Dwayne, those guys, they've been there. They're gonna help the team win win a World Cup again.
But you got to feel sorry for guys like Farsi, like a guy like that is. I even feel bad for a guy like Chris Smith, the Bulls.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's doesn't put a foot wrong.
Yeah.
Kicks all his kicks. He's got a good pass on him. He's got great defense. He's a super solid fly-off. He can easily step up into an international framework.
Especially with the forward pack that we have.
Yeah, why wouldn't you back him?
for instance, Andre Pollard this season, his kicking was much improved, but his general play was like, he just seems off.
Yeah, I just think that we've got real problems at 10.
Yeah.
And we don't have problems at 9 if we just pick the right scrum halves. I think Hendricks, to me, is also much improved. Maybe
much improved, yeah.
Maybe
is he the final product? I don't know, but he is definitely
I think
better.
He's close.
Yeah.
I like his tactical kicking ability. I think he's very accurate on the kick.
Yeah.
He's just got to push all the way through. Like I find that he fades a bit. So from a 60-minute perspective, he starts to fade or lose interest, it seems. But I also like his defense. I think he's pretty good on defense.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are like a couple of things that I would look at personally.
Yeah. Should we venture into the ugly topic of the refereeing this championship?
Yeah, I think a lot's got to be said of the referees. I think yesterday's Springbok Argentina game was a hopeless display of refereeing. I'm going to be completely blunt and say it like that. I think the first half was like a little bit here and there, but like that try that wasn't awarded to Itzebeth, someone please explain that to me. He had his hands on the ball the whole time. At no point in time that he give that ball to Sia and then take it back and score the try. He had his hands on it the whole time.
Yeah, because the thing is, wasn't on-field decision try?
On-field decision was try.
And then they said no, he lost possession, but then he didn't. And then just looking at the Australian game, I'm gonna add this clip because someone please explain this to me, how Whitelock can score a try without even having the ball.
Yeah, no, that was
so it's not just
logical.
It's not like it's like a South African way that we think that the referees are all against us, but I think that the general refereeing has been crazy over the Rugby Championship. We mentioned the Georgian referee in the All Blacks loss to Argentina. He was all over the place, and we've actually been on the receiving end of that referee as well. Before we saw the Nick White incident, I mean, Koro Betty basically shoulder charges Mapimpi, and then nothing happens, and then Nick White obviously dives, and then Faf de Klerk gets a yellow card. We've got the thing against the Aussies with the French referee. Technically, it seems like it was correct for him to, at the end of the game, to award them the All Blacks scrum for time wastage. But I mean, have we ever seen that call ever? It's just too much influence from the referees. We don't want it to become like a referee show.
And I don't want to delve into the conspiracies, but to me yesterday was a very poor refereeing performance in the Springbok game. It was a bit crazy. Like, some of the calls were crazy, some of them were correct, of course. But that guy, I felt like that ref is trying to impose himself in a Nigel Owens type of way, without the ability to be able to impose himself properly.
Which is the funny thing about Nigel Owens, is he always seemed, you were like, oh, Nigel Owens is refereeing. Like, it's almost like you forget that he's there, because he lets the game flow properly. And I think that the players take less chances with him as well.
Definitely, it was just
there's less confusion, I think. Whereas with the refereeing yesterday, there was a lot of confusion. So you're like, well, I don't know how to play.
The thing is, there's a problem. There's a problem with rugby at the moment. Everyone's moaning about it. I watched an interview the other day from England's coach,
Eddie
Jones. That occurs also. He says it's everybody. Every coach is starting to feel like that. So either whoever's regulating the referees behind the scenes is asking something of them that is not doable on the field, or players are very confused and coaches are very confused by, you're going to get a different guy every situation, but now they're being so overly pedantic. In fact, I felt yesterday that ref, if you want to find a penalty, you can find a penalty. In any situation on the field, if you want to find a penalty, you can find a penalty. And I think the ref got to that point. And I don't know if refs start taking out their own personal frustrations with player banter out on specific teams. That would be unprofessional if that were the case. But even there was one moment I thought that the ref got it wrong for both teams in the same time. It was a moment where Delenda was obstructed off the high ball. So someone changed his line, took him off, should have been a penalty to the Springboks. Next moment we get the ball. Jesse Kriel tackles the Argentinian player. He can't place the ball because Jesse Kriel's in the way. That should have been a penalty to Argentina. It's just a mess, man. And it really yesterday made for a terrible spectacle, to be honest.
But anyway, I mean, is there a way to change it? I don't know.
Well, I'm not the refereeing expert per se, but I do think that it needs attention.
Yeah.
Surely they need to have some kind of forum where the coaches can all come together and the refereeing guys can come together and some senior players and say, listen guys, this is working, this isn't working, we need to start, adjusting. Otherwise people are going to stop watching this game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it becomes a farce. But anyway, I think that this November autumn series in the Northern Hemisphere is going to be... probably going to be one of the better ones, considering how strong the Northern Hemisphere teams are at the moment. We don't really know where we are. We lost to Wales one game. You got the New Zealanders who lost to Ireland at home for the first time. France has a World Cup in their country looming, and they look very, very strong. So
at least we didn't lose to Argentina.
At least we didn't lose to Argentina.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
But let's see, and you know what? Let's just congratulate the All Blacks again, because
well
they came back from, a series loss to Ireland, then I lost to Argentina for I think it was, what was it, the first time in history?
Yeah. No, they've lost
in their own country.
2020, but it's the first time at home.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And
it's a great championship, an even championship. Unfortunately, it was for us. It was the same result in terms of New Zealand taking.
Yeah, it's the same old story. But anyway, go Bokke, and all our teams. Good luck to them in the URC. Let's bring it home.
Yeah.